Hey, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. Today we're going to replace that little raggedy greenhouse we used to have with something new. All right, up until about a month ago, we had about a 13 by 33 little greenhouse. It was one of those raggedy suckers that you can just pull off of Craigslist, which is exactly what I think we did. And it served us well for a couple of years, for a few years really. And just so you know, it would probably be standing here right now had I not been in a rush and tired, wanted to get that thing into place. And lo and behold, Murphy kicked in, blew the thing down the hill, tore it up, and we brought it back, patched it up. That thing had more duct tape on it than a little bit. Anyway, we're like, okay, we need to come up with something a little more permanent and also something that was a little more aesthetically pleasing than we had. So that brings us into what you're looking at here. We got a bunch of scrap wood that we were trying to find something to do with, and we have been using it. I mean, we used, if you go back to earlier videos, we made boxes out of it, raised beds out of it. We've done a lot of cool things with it. And today we're going to do something that's very, very different. We got this barn off to my left, and the sun tracks across the sky about like this. So the south side of this barn, which isn't being used for anything else, it just happens to be a little bit flat or flat enough. We're going to take that, and that's where we're going to put in a greenhouse. So I was thinking about designs and kind of racked my brain a little bit too much over how to go about doing this. So we're just we got a tentative design. This is not the best way to build things, but I got it up here, but I haven't taken the time to really put it on paper, which is a cardinal sin in terms of construction. So you want to have something drawn out. We're going to put in the frame today. We're going to just put in the frame, get that far, and then I'll do a little more engineering. I know what the footprint needs to be based on the cliff that it's up against, and then we'll take it from there. We'll engineer the rest after that. So with that said, it's time to get on to building this thing. right, so all this stuff is done. Now I'm not going to kid you. I thought I was going to get out kind of cheap on this thing, but it's been years since I bought any of this corrugated plastic paneling, and the 12-foot pieces of it are far more expensive than I would have expected. In all honesty, I could have probably rented an entire North Korean village for about a week for what it cost to put the plastic on this thing. So much for getting out real cheap, because the 12-foot pieces were about 35 bucks a piece. But if you stop to think about it, every bit of the cost that I'm putting in this thing, I'm going to get back many times over, just on the basis of how many seeds I can start in here, how many other things that can be grown in here. So I was okay spending more money than I thought. Now, in hindsight, in anybody who's interested in making something like this, more of a lean-to type structure, you know, what you could have done is maybe make these a little bit, you could have done plastic all the way around the outside. Now, I would not advise putting plastic on the, I'm talking like greenhouse plastic, the cheap stuff. You could have put that all the way around the sides, I'm sure, and been okay. And just use, you know, the more expensive stuff on top. That way I could have been away with just 6 panels, which is all it required to do the top. So they make these are a little bit more unsightly than I would have preferred. They make a wooden version of it. But as I recall, these things, a 3-foot section of the wooden things that hold these in place, I think they were somewhere in the neighborhood of about $5 a piece. So that would have broken the bank. And then I discovered they make these little foam pads, and they're supposed to be pretty good in terms of heat tolerance. We were able, fortunately, to use a fair piece. I was hoping to do the whole thing in reclaimed material, which are these 4x6s and the 4x4s in some places. They just weren't long enough in some of these other places, but we used them everywhere we could. Now, only thing left to do in part 1, now this floor is going to get leveled, and William has some really special stuff we're going to do with that. But hey, when you buy $5 doors at a Habitat for Humanity, you're going to have to do a little work. So these handles got to get replaced. I've already done the other door, but this one is probably going to have to get replaced as well. And then also, it has no means to close, so these are going to get replaced as well. I'm not even sure what you call them. They're like a, I don't know, whatever it does, it closes the door. We'll call it that. So that's going to get done on this. And then other things like putting, like it's up against the side of this barn and there's spaces in between that wood. So we're going to use backer rod in there. We'll show you how we do that also. But the big thing at this point, it's almost to the point where it's functional. The only thing is to level this floor out. We're going to do some special stuff with the floor. And then once that's done, we are in full operation. Now, in full disclosure, this should have been done months ago. But hey, when you're building a place from the bottom up and repairing a lot of things that were, not the way you wanted them to be in the first place, it's going to require a little bit of work. So here we are, we're off and running, things are moving, and I can't wait to get busy on the rest of it. So with all the reclaimed material, we used up as much as we could, and then we just kind of filled in the other areas with the wood we had to buy, and it wasn't terribly expensive. The real heavy cost here just happened to be this, I'll call it green, this plastic, corrugated plastic. So with that said, tomorrow when the sun's nice and shiny, I'll go ahead and get these doors squared away, and then we'll be on to the next part of it. All right, folks, remember to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we got new videos out, and be sure to tell folks about us. We're doing pretty cool things here. So until next time, this is Billy, the Permaculture Pimp Daddy, where PIMP stands for Permaculture is my passion. We'll see you next time.